Good morning, Inspiring Illuminators. It's me, Jennifer Engel, CEO and founder of Inspiring Illuminate, which is a big fancy word, which basically means nothing right now. But I heard someone say, if you repeat something long enough, it'll come true. And I was also having a conversation with someone yesterday that whether it comes true or not, it actually doesn't matter to me. It's the imagination, it's the journey, it's the goal that matters. So there we go. But that's not what I came to talk to you about today. It's a beautiful morning here in Illinois. It's about 50 degrees, 5 o'clock in the morning. You might be able to hear the birds out singing. To start us off to a super Saturday. Today, I want to talk about, and I'm going to give a couple disclaimers. Disclaimer number one, this topic is more, esoteric, hoity-toity, new agey, whatever you want to talk about. I don't care what label you give it, but it's out there, okay? Number two, I am not trying to convince anyone of my beliefs. I'm simply sharing them. Because I think there was a quote, something about how most people die with the music inside of them. And if you put music aside, with their own true gift still inside of them. And my gift is, I think, hearing and seeing and understanding concepts beyond this physical reality. And, cancer taught me one thing, spina bifida, all the other stuff I've been through. We're not promised, a certain number of days here on earth. And so I simply share my knowledge because people have told me it helps them or it opens up their mind. And also, if I were to go tomorrow, which I don't plan to, I plan to stay for quite a long time, but at least my gift is not locked inside of me. It's shared and people can still find it even if I'm gone. Which again, I don't plan to be for a very long time. But there you go, okay? Those are my two disclaimers. This is kind of more esoteric, new age out there concepts. And if it's interesting to you and opens your mind, great. If it's way too sounds crazy to you, fine. Turn off the recording and just say, that was interesting. But who knows? It might vibrate or ring true for you. All right, so my topic today is the difference between walk-ins and merge-ins. Now, I have not heard any other New Age teacher, esoteric teachings, talk about merge-ins. I think that term is a Gen term. So there you go. I'm going to copyright it right now. End of April 2021. Jen Engel coined the term merge-ins. Because I think I've even Googled it. Haven't seen it out there. Okay, so I'm going to give you the definition of a walk-in. I'm going to give you my definition of what a merge-in is. And then kind of give you physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, vibrational, subconscious examples. Okay? All right, here we go. So walk-in, to my understanding, is where you have a person, they have their own consciousness, and another consciousness comes into theirs, and they make like this agreement. that the other consciousness will take over the body and mind of another body so that the other consciousness can leave. I'm not sure if it always is this way, but when I've kind of heard about walk-ins, it might be someone who is having a very difficult time here on this physical realm. They might be physically, mentally, emotionally exhausted. They kind of like cry out for help, and then it's almost like tag team. Another consciousness comes in so they can leave. In our science fiction areas, there's actually kind of a TV show based on this called Travelers. And I'm not sure. I may have had, and maybe some people have had similar experiences, not for a lifetime. Maybe there is a bell curve. Maybe they don't have to like totally leave for the whole life. Maybe this is what, I can't remember if it's like multiple personality disorders. This might be kind of what they're experiencing on a more spiritual, subconscious level. You know, in this Western physical society, we might quote call them crazy. But if they were in a more traditional culture that believes and can actually see things a little bit more beyond, they would actually be seen as having gifts. So basically, I think with like multiple personality disorders, it's where many consciousnesses live within one body. Okay, and again, I think I did a jaunt with Jen, so if I can remember, I'll put in a link below. What's the difference between, you know, mental illness and hearing God? I would think the same is true for the multiple consciousnesses that live in one body. It all depends on the tone. Is it benevolent or malevolent? And which one is in control? So there's been like a lot of movies over time that have talked about that. On one hand, I kind of experienced that. I can kind of hear, see, and feel the different we's in me. I could probably sit down with someone and tell them the various we's in me that I have. This may also be a little bit, I walked by a tree that smells so good. Maybe what some of the, I don't know, the non-gender people might be experiencing when they want to be called they and them. Because I'll be honest, even as open-minded as I am, I'm also a language arts teacher. And so I'm like, wait, even if you're non-gendered, you're one person. But then when I understood, well, I technically have a lot of we's in me, then it made more sense to me. So this might also be where maybe that is coming from, whether they know it or not. And I'll get to that. That's the concept of the merge-in. All right. So, where to start? I have experienced some of my consciousnesses taking kind of over. Like, I'm still there. I'm still me. but I will feel like a totally different person. This hasn't happened very often, and hopefully I'll get to explaining where in my journey this happened, because I don't really experience it too much now. I have a queen consciousness inside of me. I definitely have a oversoul, higher self. Actually, if anyone ever hears me pray in the morning, my higher self kind of comes in, and I don't know why, but it has an English accent. My voice will actually change to an English accent. I also have experienced a Spock consciousness kind of take over, where I was very neutral and like, this is highly illogical, or like I was almost felt like I was observing humans and taking data. It's weird, I'm not gonna lie. Now, I only experienced those for like a couple minutes. The other thing I found with the Spock-like consciousness is if I'm really hurting emotionally and I'm kind of crying out, to me, it's my understanding. There's a movie out there called K-Pax, and that's kind of like what I experienced. Like, you're hurting so much as a human being, you're calling out, and then this consciousness comes in to kind of give you a timeout so you can rest. I haven't experienced that very often. I probably can't even, hold up 5 fingers on one hand. Probably only experienced that once or twice, but I have experienced it. So to me, that's what a walk-in is. It's where something comes into you. I'm gonna say from like the outside in, but that's not the most accurate way to describe it. But for lack of a better way of describing it, I'm gonna use it like that. Like, that consciousness comes into you and takes over. That's a walk-in. And I do believe there's a bell curve for that. It can occur from a couple seconds or minutes all the way up to probably the other side, which is the souls agree to switch for a lifetime. So that's a walk-in. Now, I'm going to give you my definition, my understanding, what was given to me from beyond, if you will, or from within my consciousness, what a merge-in is. So if a merge-in is where a consciousness comes into you and takes over, it's kind of similar to how I view innies and outies, and I'm not talking about belly buttons, I'm talking about people. There are some people that are most people are focused in this physical plane in reality. I call them outies, where they live outside in. They have a physical experience. They take it into their senses. Their senses have a feeling about what that experience felt like. Their mind makes a judgment about those feelings and experiences, and then it stores it into the subconscious shed. And then every time they deal with a similar physical experience, they have the same thing, like a broken record. Unless they flip the script and change, unless they go inside out. So when you go inside out, you might say something like, okay, I know I'm going to have a physical experience that was negative before. I'm going to flip the script in my mind. I'm going to change the thought and feeling before I have that experience, and I'm going to make it different. Okay? So if immersion kind of comes into you or into a person and takes over, sorry, that was a walk-in. If a walk-in comes into a person to take over for however little or long, then a merge-in is where your consciousness, a person's consciousness, reaches a certain consciousness, and now it has access to that information. Okay? One way that you can view it is like a tree growing, maybe, or probably an even easier way to view it is there are certain levels to subconscious and consciousness, and you might have been living on the ground floor for a very long time, but then one day you find an elevator and you say, I wonder what life is like on level 2, and you decide to ride up to floor 2 and explore that for a while. And now you have understanding of what floor 1 and floor 2 look, sound, and feel like. And one day, maybe you're getting bored or whatever on floor 2, and you go, where's that elevator again? Oh yeah, it's over here. And you go to the elevator and you go, there's like lots of floors to explore. And so then you push the button for floor 3, and you go explore floor 3. And now you have the knowledge and understanding of what floor 3, 2, and 1 all look, feel, and sound like. Okay? Another way you could look at it is you might be exploring a house. Wow, what's in this room? What's in that room? Okay? So my understanding of the chakra system, of the level system, the rainbow bridge system, the Jacob ladder system, this is in across cultures. So many people don't understand it. And so let's picture it like an elevator, okay? All right. So let's say level 1 is physical reality, where you are a physical person experiencing reality as one consciousness, you. Okay? And you're experiencing physical reality outside in. The outside world controls and shapes your inside world, and you might feel like you have no control over your whole life. It's just random and chance. And so you're walking around on level 1 like that. On the first floor, there may also be fear because you don't have control. And then one day, you'll find the elevator. And you're a little bit afraid to go in because you don't know what's above it. But you're so sick of living on the ground floor in chaos and fear and random chance that you flip the script. You might even still be scared, but that's how courage starts. And you push the button to the elevator. And you go in and you decide to go to floor 2. And you get out on floor 2. And there you start to think about past experiences you've had that have caused anger, fear, guilt inside of you. That's where all of that stuff lives. All of the stuff on floor 2 is everything in the outside world who told you who you are and how you should experience the world. But as you're going through floor 2, you're starting to say, but I don't think that's true. That's not who I feel I am. That's not how I want to experience the world. And you remember, oh, there was that elevator. I wonder if things are different on floor 3. And so, just before you get on the elevator, you look back at floor 2, and rather than being mad or angry, you say, you know what? You were just doing the best with what you had of the knowledge of the world at the time. Thank you for teaching me what I'm not and what the world is not. But I'm going to leave you behind. But thank you. And if you want to come with me, get on the elevator with me. Okay? And then you get into the elevator, and when you got off on floor 2, you might have experienced guilt. You might have still carried some of that anger with you from floor 1. But now when you get on the elevator, there's more like acceptance. Like, I value or don't, that's fine, the lessons y'all tried to teach me. But it's just not what I believe anymore. And if you want to stay here, awesome. And if you want to explore what else the world could be like, get on the elevator with me. Okay? So now you're back on the elevator and you're pushing the button to floor 3. You're a little bit nervous. You're carrying those insecurities with you. Maybe still some of that guilt, fear. But now you get off on the floor, and this is kind of like the floor of possibilities, the floor of choice. Not only do you have on this floor maybe some of the things that decided to come in the elevator with you, but now it's almost like, the way I see it is Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. Okay? This is where you have the choice to believe all of the things, the negative things that people have told you, and hang on to them. Or you have the choice of saying, you know, that didn't really serve me very well. I'm going to donate or transform those things that people said I was, or how the world worked, that didn't really serve me very well. I'm going to change it into stuff that does serve me, that makes me feel happy, positive, content, accepted, loved. So it's not like, it's the floor of transformation. You know, sometimes people get off on floor 3 and they still see those negative things and they try to fight them. Well, when you try to fight them, they fight back. Okay? And so the goal of floor 3 is to transform them, like in Harry Potter. You know, expecto patronus. But instead of expecto patronus, because that shines a light and scares the fears away, you really want to pretend they're Bogarts coming out of the closet. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, in the book and in the movie Harry Potter, can't remember which one, some Harry Potter fans will have to comment below and what they're trying to learn is in this cabinet is a Bogart. And the Bogart is simply will come up to a person and turn into their fear. But what the wizard can do is look at the fear and transform it. So I spent many years in meditation scanning my body. That's what I do. I just kind of close my eyes. I scan my body for any, and I still do this today, because guess what? Never goes away. When I first started doing this back in like 2014, the shadows and the stuff, they were pretty scary. They were pretty big. They were not very nice. And it's not a one and done thing. It's like brushing your teeth, okay? I do this every morning. You know, you go to the bathroom, you get the shit out of your body. You take a shower, you wash the dirt off, you brush your teeth, you get the plaque off. You need to do that with your mind too. Okay, otherwise things will fester and rot and boil up to the surface and cause disease. So now that I've been doing that every day since like 2014, now when I scan my body, the fear, the guilt, the whatever, it like might be the size of a gnat or maybe like a tennis ball, and I'm not as afraid of it anymore. It gets easier and easier to deal with. So floor 3 is the floor of opportunity of transformation. The lesson that you need to have is don't fight it, transform it. So if you feel fear, you need to experience courage. Anyone who really knows me knows as soon as I feel fear or guilt or any negative emotion, anger, because they're always going to be there. Always. It's really important to me to face it and transform it, walk through it. Okay? I will always do that. Now, I was also having a conversation with someone yesterday. Someone said, well, what about your fear of heights? Are you gonna face it by jumping out of an airplane? I'm like, okay, maybe someday I will. If I'm really, gonna put my money where my mouth is. I'm just not at that level yet. So you have to be able to do it on a level that you're comfortable with. Which is why I tell people when you go into meditation, you need to be careful. Highest possibility states is not about opening up the subconscious garage door and letting all that dark shit you stored in there come at you all at once. No, that is overwhelming. Highest possibility states is about considering opening up the subconscious shed, looking in there, acknowledging what you put in there, all the good, the bad, and everything in between, finding something that is ugly or not useful anymore, and taking just one thing out at a time and dealing with it that way until finally, over years, your subconscious shed is clean and organized. It's very similar to a house, okay? If you think about, tackling a whole house, there's no way. It'd be overwhelming. Or any other project. It's literally okay seeing and understanding the whole thing. I see the whole thing, but I'm going to make a plan to only deal with this one little thing at a time until over time the whole thing is transformed. Okay? All right, so quick review. Floor 1 is fear, living outside in, random chaos, nothing I do matters. Floor 2 is kind of experiencing some guilt or insecurity, but starting to see that maybe what you told or how you experience the world isn't exactly who you feel you are or how you feel or want the world to work. Floor 3 is the level of transformation. Bit by bit, moment by moment. And I do have on my YouTube channel, and I will have in highest possibility states, the difference between mindfulness, meditation, and visualization. Those are the 3 things you can use to transform your subconscious shed on level 3. If I can remember, which I might not, so you might have to go look for it. Look for that on my channel. What is the difference between mindfulness, meditation, and visualization? All right, so now on floor 3, if you've been doing your work, you're like, man, I've been on this floor for a long time. You know, if I take my own example, I've been on this floor for like 8 years. I'm getting kind of tired of this floor, but I also feel like I cleaned it up. It's looking pretty good now. I wonder what is on floor 4. Oh yeah, there's that elevator. I'm gonna go back to the elevator. And all those things you transformed with you can come with you, okay, if they want. So now you press the button of floor 4. That's the floor of love. And I don't mean love meaning, you know, Hollywood love. This is the floor where you start to learn what all kinds of love look like, okay? You start to understand, you know, like level 1 love, which is more, actually there's even like a level 1 where there's like no connection. You don't really feel connected with anyone or anything, and that's kind of like floor 1 love. Absence of love, you could say. And then like a level 2 concept of love, lust, where you just love someone for their physical appearance and what they can do for you and your body, okay? And then there's level 3 love, where you might experience the level 2 with them, but you're also experiencing, hey, not only do we like to, you know, do what rabbits do or whatever, but we also make each other feel better. Like not just in the bedroom, but outside. And then you're moving up into understanding, hey, not only do we do everything on floor 2 and 3, but I actually like you as a whole person. I like your mind. I like how you see the world. Okay? You start to see and understand things from other people's perspectives. And this doesn't have to be romantic partners. It could also be you're starting to learn what unconditional love is. You're starting to learn what different relationships can look and be like. And I actually wrote down, when I sat down to read the Bible, I think it was like 2011 or so, unconditional love is the hardest lesson I am learning. To not project my wishes, my desires, my whatever onto someone, but to simply see them for who and what they are, respect that, honor that, and work with that from where you both are. You might be learning compassion. I can be angry at you. I can disagree with you. I can think you're a total ass. But if something really bad and tragic happens to you, I can still have compassion for you, you know? If you lost your job or whatever, I can still donate food to the food pantry. I can still do these things, even if I am mad or angry or disagree with you, okay? And then when you start to overcome jealousy, overcome envy, learn compassion, empathy, you're like, you know what? This is nice. I wonder if there is even anything more than this. And then you press the elevator and you go up to level 5, which is communication, clear communication, consistent communication. Now you are learning to communicate, to connect, to share compassion, okay? You're not lying or hiding anything anymore from yourself or others. And once you learn how to do that, and again, I did a video about how to communicate even when it's difficult. I'm probably not going to remember. So the best way to do it is either to go to highestpossibilitystates.com or jennifermengle.com, and all those videos will be there, or my YouTube channel. So if I forget to put links in, I'll at least put the links to those in, and you can go explore those free resources. Okay. And then once you learn how to communicate consistently, clearly, without misperception, you get back on the elevator. What are we on now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, level 6. Okay? Floor 6 is where you actually see things just as they are, not as you want them to be. But, okay, this is tricky. So intent is the idea behind this floor. On lower levels, you project negativity onto things and make them what they're not. Now you can project what you would like or wish for a person or a situation onto the clear, real picture. So this is the land of imagination. It's, I see this space, this person, this whatever, as it is, very clearly. So think of it as like a home remodel, or, I don't know, a car redo. You know, I see it in the state that it's in, and I want to help it become its best possible version of itself, okay? Now you want to do that for you first. You want to do that for your physical surroundings, because I believe your physical surroundings affect and or match your internal subconscious shed. And you have to be careful. You can want, and this is a gift I have and also a curse. I've always had it. When I meet someone, it's like I only see their best, highest self. And on one hand, that makes me a great teacher, because I only see the highest possibility states in my students. But it's gotten me into trouble, because I've met some people who were in lower possibility states, and then they took advantage of me. So you gotta be careful. It's all about intent. Really work on yourself first. But if people come into your life and you can work together, all you have to do with other people is just tell them their highest possibility state. But it's up to them if they want to take your comments, take your feedback, and do anything with it. Don't ever try to change somebody else. Okay, so intent, you have to let go of wanting to change anyone, okay? You can tell them, hey, you look beautiful, or you're a great artist, or whatever. Like, when you're in this state, you're telling them, and it's also like a level 6, their highest state, whether they're there or not. But it is not your job to take on the job of helping them get there. That's their job. Okay? Now we can all find connections that can help us, and we can connect and be a team and lift each other up. That's cool, you know, but make sure you're taking care of your own house first. And then make sure that every relationship you get into is symbiotic. Because some people kind of like are energy vampires or whatever. They'll cling on to you because they can see themselves in their highest state, or you take care of them to the point where they're in their highest state, but they're not doing it themselves. And all they're doing is draining your energy, and they're not giving you anything back to help you be your highest self. So just be careful of that. Okay? So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 6th floor is the land of imagination, visualization, and also transformation. So if the 3rd floor is the possibility of transformation, then I keep losing the numbers. The 6th floor is where, if you focus that imagination and possibility long enough, it will actually start showing up in your physical reality. Okay? And however small or big the transformation is how much time it will take to show it up in your reality. So if it's a really small thing, I'm not kidding. One time I went to a garden. I do a garden at school. And I'm like, I forgot the water key. And I really need to water them. And the building's closed because it's like summertime. And I kid you not, in the dirt, blending in with the dirt, kind of rusted but still working, was a water key. Now some people could say that's coincidence, but I've had way too many coincidences in my life to call it coincidence, okay? And then, if it's a bigger change, the other thing that I notice with myself is it starts farthest away from you, and then it almost swirls and twirls until it's the closest to you. So in 2014, the reason why I called my book Heaven Under Construction is because the road I took to work was under construction. And I started thinking, that's kind of like my life. My life is under construction right now after going through chemo and radiation and a double mastectomy and all that. My life's under construction. And I started seeing changes within my school, changes on the road to get there. And the cool thing is you're not doing anything. It's just happening around you. Then I saw the park across my street being redone. And then I saw in my own house, we had like a little mini flood thing. And we were able to rip out this old nasty carpet. And so now my home is starting to be remodeled and changed. So that's what I mean. Like the bigger things, at least in my experience, they are farther away from you and then almost like swirls and twirls until it gets closer to you. Even with my own physical body, I had a lot of anger in me that took many years to overcome. And I kept shaving my head. I took it out. I had post-traumatic stress on my hair. I did that for like 4 or 5 years. But now I'm finally in the place, technically I was in remission from cancer like 2014, 15. But it's not until now, 2021, where I'm finally like letting my hair grow out and honoring the beauty on the inside and outside of me. So the bigger the change, the longer it will take. All right. And then it's almost like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with the glass elevator. You go, is there even more? Can I go even higher? You get back in that elevator, you push the button, and it breaks out of the building. It breaks out of your physical body. So now this is tricky. On one hand, it does that, and on the other hand, it doesn't. I like to picture consciousness like a tree funnel, if you will. So on one hand, your consciousness stays within your body. And I'm talking about going to different levels. I'm talking about graduating from the different levels. But it's like a tree. We have rings upon rings upon rings within us. And those rings, or those layers, represent the memories. So it's not like everything goes away. It's all the lessons you learn stay in you on that floor. But you have the option at any time to go up and down the elevator, okay? And I'll talk about maybe compartmentalization. So to me, consciousness is like an elevator, but our experiences are like different rooms on the floor, okay? So maybe I'll talk about that at a different time. So now you press the button and you break out of your physical body. Again, it's like a funnel. You are still in your physical body. Your consciousness is still in your physical body. But if you picture it like a plant, all of a sudden you grow roots. You're kind of like in the darkness and in the shit, the dirt, creepy crawlies. And then all of a sudden you start pushing up for something better, and the part of the plant breaks through the ground and finally reaches the light. Your roots, part of your stem or whatever, I'm not a botanist or anything, is still in the ground. All of you is still in your physical body, but now there's also part of you that is outside. Okay? To my understanding, and I'm going to probably go through the next ones very, very quickly because they're kind of complex. The next level is galactic. To me, that is alien, if you will, angelic. I call them vibrational beings. They all exist, but they exist in a different dimension, in a different consciousness. That's why we can't physically see them. But our consciousness can reach them, and their consciousness can communicate with us. And I remember when I first started experiencing these alien-like communications, I thought I was going crazy. There are times when you reach different levels where you might feel like you're going a little crazy. And so again, I started developing my questions. How does this make me feel in the moment and over time? And is it making me more or less functional? Now in the moment, I felt kind of crazy and I felt pretty unfunctional because a lot of times when you start going beyond your physical body, you start experiencing flu or sickness-like symptoms. And it's kind of like they're slowing your body down, quieting your body, or you might get really, really tired because they communicate with you between that sleep and awake state. So you might also be able to experience it just in like when you first wake up or when you're just going to sleep. You know, those voices or whatever, and they sound like your own, but you know that they're not. It's a weird thing. It could be your oversoul. I think people see these vibrational beings how they want to see them, whether it's aliens or angels or, you know, their spirit guide. They kind of come into your consciousness in a way that you will understand. But they're there to help you and guide you. There can be, I think in the higher states, it's just beings of love and light. But on the other hand, when I first started to go into my consciousness, there are like malevolent things. But once I transformed them on level 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, there comes this point where you can feel almost a malevolent type of consciousness trying to come for you, because it can only exist, like fear can only exist if you believe and experience fear. It's like our emotions are that higher level food. And once you transform and you no longer have, there almost like becomes this like barrier around you. Like you're protected. Like I can still see it sometimes. Sometimes I can still feel it. Not very often, to be honest. The higher you go and the longer you're there, the less you experience these negative things. But there's like this bubble of light around you. And it's like, you can't touch me. And it knows it. Like it'll come, it'll sniff, it'll see this barrier around you, and then it goes away. Okay, I've experienced that too. But again, the more you're in higher states of consciousness, the longer you hold that, the less and less you'll even experience that. Okay? So then you get beyond alien, angel, whatever consciousness. Then I almost experienced like a breaking apart, like the field of all possibility where everything exists, you know, from computers and coding and sports and fiction and fantasy. It's like the place where all things exist. And so I don't know if some people call that Akashic records or what. In my mind, I kind of see it like tree branches. Like the trunk is the one consciousness, and then the tree branches are all the different possibilities and the leaves and everything. But then you keep going up in your consciousness in this elevator. Maybe it's more like an air balloon now, I don't know. No time or space really exists. And then I think you hit 0 point, God point, source point. And the way that I see and experience it is the closest I can probably come to it. It's maybe what an atom looks like. Light dancing on water, darkness. Maybe one of those electricity balls. It's like clear. You put your hands on it. Stuff sparks from it. If you're afraid of water, don't take this analogy. But the closest I felt to it is when I'm in a pool or a lake and I hold my breath and I'm just still. And I think that's where the quote, "Be still and know that I am God," comes in. And so my understanding of emergence, if a walk-in is a consciousness comes into you because you cry for help or whatever, that's emergent. It comes into you. Or sorry, a walk-in. A walk-in is outside in. It comes into you. Emergent is where you rise your consciousness up to the point where you are finally able to access and merge into that consciousness. The other way that I experience reality and merging in is a lot like maybe the clouds, a lot like the game Agario. We start off like this little dot and we bump into other consciousnesses, other people, and we expand. And then we leave that experience, that person, that consciousness for a minute, a day, a year, forever. And then we go and we merge into and experience another consciousness. So on the spiritual vibrational level, it looks like the game Agario. It looks like clouds that break apart and come together. It looks like those school of fish in Finding Nemo. They're each one individual fish, but sometimes they break apart and come together and form new shapes. In the physical world, it's a lot less, it's more physical. We experience the consciousness of our home. We experience the consciousness of walking in nature. We experience the consciousness of work. We experience the consciousness of being alone by ourselves and driving in our car to work. We experience the consciousness of being with our family. We experience the consciousness of fill in the blank, okay? That's the pulling apart and the coming together in what it looks like in non-hooey-frooey terms. All right, this was a really long talk. It was a 1 hour Jaunt with Jen. If you're still with me, hallelujah and amen, thank you. Even if you're not, that's okay. Esoteric teachings believe that whoever needs to hear it at whatever level, at whatever time, will hear it. They're ready for this teaching. And if they're not, and that's cool. But I hope that this has opened someone's mind today. Whether you believe in emergence, the label doesn't matter. If you don't want to call it emergent, because that sounds too hooey-frooey, call it personal self-development. But you're still going to use your imagination to try to grow and get better if that is your intent. Again, I hope this has helped someone today so that you can use your own physical experiences, your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own imagination, visualization, wishes, dreams, desires, to first help yourself and then help those closest to you and around you, because now, more than ever, the world needs that and it needs you. Peace and blessings.